Hi everyone, it's Tamara here with another card making tutorial. This time I'm using the Tropical Vibes Aloha stamp set from Streamside Studios. I'm going to be doing a Copic coloured scene on Copic Express cardstock. As it is a digital stamp, I've actually blown up the flowers and just popped them down in the bottom left hand corner. This is a really big set and comes with multiple flower images as well as multiple sentiments. So I've just used one of the flowers and one of the sentiments for this card. So I'm just wanting to put kind of like a blue haze around the outside of the flowers. So I'm just using my B01 to put in my kind of a darker shadow around the actual flowers and leaves themselves. And then I'll slowly blend that out to white cardstock. So you could do this with inks, so ink blending, but I've decided just to do it with Copics today. So I've sped through this because obviously it's quite simple colouring, just working in little flicking motions, working out from the flowers into that white card space. So I just thought the blue will really pop against the red that I've chosen for the flowers and the green leaves. Kind of look like a sky, but just soften it out to that white kind of haze on the outside. So I'm just working around those flowers, leaves, just being careful not to colour over them. And then I'll go in with my final colour, the B000. And as I said, just kind of flicking out to really soften it. So really lightening my hand as I get further out into that white cardstock. So it's just a really nice soft blend out into that white space. So I'm just doing that final colour and then just finish it down the bottom, and then we can start on colouring the image. And just making sure I'm just moving my fingers a bit further up the pen to really soften my hand, to make it really light as I go out into that white cardstock. Just little flicks to really soften that edge. Now this is the actual picture that I've chosen to colour my flower, so it's quite dark in the middle and then it goes lighter and then darker on the outside. So I'll be using some red markers, but because I don't want to transfer the red and it can get transferred quite easily, that's why I did the blue on the outside first. And now I'm going to go in and do our leaves before I go in with the red markers. So I'm just going in with my lightest marker, just with these top leaves, and just putting where the shadow areas will be. I'm just going to have my light source from the top right hand side. So it will be quite shadowed around where the flowers are and obviously on the left hand side of those leaves. So now I'm going to go in, once I've established that, with my darkest marker, my BG99. Just pop a small amount of that colour in to create a shadow. I'm just doing some little flicks out. So there's quite a few leaves on that left hand side of that flower. And we'll just go up and over these sides. So I've slowed this down a little bit, so I will fasten up and slow down each section as I'm colouring it. So if I go over anything, I'll normally fasten it up, or if I'm repeating something, I'll do it a little bit faster, but this one, as it's the first one, I'll do it quite slowly. So now I'm just going to blend that BG90 out with my BG96. So I will have all the caps showing what numbers they are in the top left hand corner, but I will have them also listed in the description box below for you. So now I'm just going to blend out with the YG07, just working in little flicking motions to go up into that white space. And we'll go down the bottom, and now we'll flick up from these. Just trying to get a nice smooth blend between all the colours. We'll go in now with our YG05. This is one of my favourite green combos. I'm just leaving that small amount of light space for that YG03 that we laid down initially. Smoothing that out. And we'll bring in our YG03 to finish off our leaves. Slowly filling that space in, making sure we've got a nice smooth blend between each of the colours. Now we'll go, and I've sped this up a little bit more because I'll be using the same colours and pretty much doing the same colouring as I did the top leaves. So I'll just make this a little bit faster. So I'm just going in with that lightest YG03 again to put in my, work out where my shadows will be. Then we'll bring in our BG99. Just adding the shadows, obviously wherever those petals will throw some shadows furthest away from the light. So down the bottom of these leaves. Then obviously this will be in shadow with the two flowers sitting over the top. These are quite shadowed behind where our flowers are and at the very back away from our light source. Now we'll blend that out with the BG96. Just little flicking motions to get a nice smooth blend between all our colours. Just working that colour up into our white cardstock. Blending out and down for these leaves at the bottom. Then we'll bring in our YG07 again, just working up into that cardstock. Just trying to make sure we get a nice smooth blend between these colours. Just flicking up, and then we'll flick down for all these ones at the bottom again. And leaving enough space for us to blend out with the YG05. I'm trying to keep in order as I go through this so that we're making sure we get a nice smooth blend and our ink's not drying out too much. And down from these little ones. So most of these will be in shadow. I'll just leave the smallest amount for our highlight colour with our YG03 as our final colour. Just flicking up into that cardstock. And then I'm just going to repeat this. The shadows were quite not quite what I wanted, so I'm not going to bring in the BG99, but I will bring in the BG96 to reinforce those shadow areas. And then we'll go through all the colours again to get a good blend out. So now we'll go in with the YG07. You can see it just starts to blend out a lot easier when we're going in with this second layer. Just moving it up into that cardstock so we get a nice smooth blend. Just as I said, always little flicking motions make it a really easy way to blend out your colours. Just going up into that green. And then we'll get our ones down the bottom. And our YG03 to finish into our highlight space. And finish off down the bottom. And then we'll bring back our reference photo just to confirm how we're going to colour up these flowers. So now we'll go in with the petals and we'll leave our stamens till the end. I did actually, forget to our little stems. They're kind of like a reddy brown. So I'm adding E07 as our shadow colour, E15 to blend that out, and finish off with E13. Now we'll get on with our flower colouring. So I'm just going in with our lightest marker, which is R43, to work out where all my shadow areas will be. So as I said, anything really on the inside and then on the very outside of those tips, and then we'll blend in to a lighter colour in the middle as from our reference photo. So we'll just start off with the one flower first, and we'll do each flower separately to make sure our ink doesn't dry too much as we're putting our layers down. I'm just flicking up that dark colour, only putting a small amount of this in because it is quite a dark colour, the RV69. Such a beautiful colour. It'll make a nice contrast for our shadow areas. Going around that outside where we're going away from that light. Then we'll blend out with our R37, just flicking up into our white cardstock, away from our RV69. Again, just a small amount, because we will be joining those colours together once we bring in that lightest R43. And we'll do this top one. So this has got a very small amount of space. So our R35, which is going to be our second lightest colour, we'll just bring up again just a short way to make sure we've got enough room to put our lightest colour in. Just little flicking motions down into our white cardstock, just being careful around those stamen. Working down into this section. Now we'll bring in our lightest colour again, our R43, to blend up into our highlight space. Just little flicking motions both up and down, so where we've gone either way with our colour, I go a little bit up and a little bit down. But I always like to move the card around. I find it a lot easier when you're colouring that. Now I'm going to go through all those colours again just to reinforce our shadows and make sure we've got a nice smooth blend in the end. I'm just throwing those shadows in with our RV69. And we'll bring back in our R37, just flicking that out to get a nice smooth blend. We'll go around our outside edges. And then bring that one down the bottom. Then bring our R35 in to go up into that highlight. Making sure we're getting a nice little rough edge so that it gets a nice smooth blend when we put our lightest colour in for our little shine on our flowers. Forgot a little bit of the R35 down the bottom, and now we'll finish off with our R43 to smooth out that blend. And you can just see how much that gives that flower vibrance now that we've gone over that colour twice with our Copic markers. So just keep blending. Your Copic cardstock can take a lot of colour. And now we'll go in again and I'll show you how to colour up the other flowers. Now I have sped this up even more than the first two because obviously most things are the same, using the same colours. But obviously the shadows are going to be slightly different with each of these flowers, so I thought I'd leave each of the bits of colouring in. So we'll blend out that RV69 with our R37, working up to our white highlight space. Bring in our R35. No, I do repeat the colours on both this flower and the flower at the bottom, but I don't actually show that in the video because obviously you saw me repeat it, and I do, repeat it off camera just to save time. Otherwise we'd be here all day. So as you can see now that I did that twice, just how beautiful and vibrant that flower is as well. So now I'll show you the colouring of the final flower. So setting out with the lightest colour where all my shadows will be, and now we'll bring in our RV69. Just making sure I'm putting it in the right spot. Just moving that card around as I'm colouring. When I first started colouring, I did normally keep things still, and I think my coloring's definitely improved by moving my card panel around. It just helps you go with the actual flow of what you're coloring as well. So now we'll bring in our R35 to blend out up into our highlight space, getting ready for our final marker. Flicking motions, just bringing that down, and now we'll bring in our final marker, the R43, for our highlight. And again, I do this again off camera to finish that coloring off. So as you can see, that's darkened that one at the bottom, and now we'll do our stamen. So I'm just putting in a kind of like a reddy orange, a yellow orange. So I did start with the Y26 as my shadow color, Y15, and then I'll blend it out finally with the Y11. And then as you can see from the picture, I'll show you the reference, it's got a bit of that pink from that flower in the stamen and also on some of those little spots at the top. So I'm going to use those same red markers that I used for our flowers just to add that into our stamen. So I'm skipping the R37 and just using the R35, and then finally blend that out with the R43 up into that yellow inks that we initially put down. Just to make sure that blends out nicely, I'm just going to bring in the Y15 to blend that out. So I've cut and scored a green card base, so to match in with those leaves on the back of our card. And I'm just going to put some glue on and just get that lined up and put onto the front of our card panel. Give that a good press down and set that aside to dry. And this is the finished card for this tutorial. The Tropical Vibes Aloha set is wonderful. It has such beautiful flowers and leaves in it, multiple of those and multiple sentiments as well. Make sure you check it out. Now, if you have liked this card making tutorial, please hit the like button. And if you'd like to see any future videos, make sure to hit the subscribe button. Thanks so much for watching. Have a great day. Bye.